Hello, and thank you so much for viewing our presentation. My name is Juliana, and I'm the project coordinator for White Bison. Today, we're going to be talking about Wellinon. Wellinon is a brand new program that is a culturally based peer support program for the friends and family members of individuals who are struggling with addiction. We are so excited to launch this. We've been working on it for about a year. In order to introduce this program, I'm going to be handing it over to Don Coyas. Don has been active with White Bison since its inception about 37 years ago. He is the founder of White Bison and the Wellbriety Movement and our current chairman of the board. Don is very active in program development here at White Bison and through the Wellbriety programs, in addition to input from our elders. So thank you so much. And without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Don.
Good day, everyone. My name is Don Coyas, and I'm a member of the Mohican Nation. And we're really excited today to tell you about this new program that we've been working on for a year. And we'd like to give you an overview of this program and what's the story behind it. Then, in addition, at the end, you'll see that there's other sources of information that gives them more detail. So this will be our goal here is to do an overview and to let you know how the program works. So this Wellinon program, it was kicked off May 27th, 2025. We've been working on it for about a year. And one of the reasons is at first, when we first started 35 years or 38 years ago, we primarily, our issues in our native communities was just alcohol. And then when you take a look at what's going on today, our issues as of a few years ago is no longer alcohol anymore. And alcohol, we knew a lot about alcohol, and it took a long time for a person die from alcoholism. I mean, there were in between things, but for the most part, it took a long time. But nowadays, it has changed. It's not just alcohol. Now we have a new thing that come into our community, something called fentanyl, and it's just not fentanyl, but it has some relatives that bought with it, the meth and the heroin and the fake prescription drugs that people are now mixing and making prescription drugs look like the real drugs, but they're really mixed with something else, and they're hurting people. And so this is a reason for the Wellinon program being born. And so this is our current situation. Now it's as we know, now it's more than alcohol. And what we mean by that is along not too many years ago come this new enemy called fentanyl. And fentanyl, it hit our communities, and we didn't know what to do with it, but it started to kill people. People started to die. Children were taking it, young people were taking it, dads were taking it, moms were taking it. Not only that, we had another drug that come along that we didn't know that we had much before, and that was a meth. And meth had the same results. It started doing damage in our communities. Both of these were different than what alcohol, our experience with alcohol. Then, of course, the fake drugs come along where they started mixing them. They make them look like the real drugs, but they're not. They're laced with other material, and they start damaging in our communities. And then, of course, our buddy alcohol still was doing what alcohol does. It still resided in our community. So what we came to realize here in the Wellbriety movement is that we have a new enemy in our camps. And this is different than the alcohol because these drugs, they can kill on first time use. And they're very addictive and very, very powerful. And there is a big money movement behind to get these drugs out, into our communities, which tells us that they're easy to get and they're cheap and they're all these things like this. So we had to take a look at things had changed in the Wellbriety movement and what we were to do about it. So initially, as most of us know, is we had AA, and during those days it was just alcohol. And then it wasn't too much later in 1953, Al-Anon was formed. This was for the families of alcoholics, because all of a sudden they found that they didn't want the families in the alcoholic meetings. And so a program was made for Al-Anon. Then along comes some of the early drugs. So NA was formed, and NA started in 1971. And then also they started something to help with the families of narcotics. And as things progressed in our communities, there was a new program came to our communities we had not seen before, and it was something called NANACOA. It was a Native American National Association for Children of Alcoholics. And this was the first time I remember that you could go to a conference or to a meeting and they were introducing the culture to where we were smudging with sage and we were doing dances and we were doing ceremonies in front of groups, and that had not been done before. And through that, as things evolved, then the culture was added. In 1988, White Bison was formed. And then White Bison, we developed some cultural-based programs around alcohol. So we added some native teachings to AA's 12 steps and medicine wheel 12 steps. And we had this cycle of life and different teachings to it. And the movement it started to spread throughout an Indian country. And finally, we had to name it. We call it the Wellbriety movement. And so while the Wellbriety movement is started to spread, it wasn't just alcohol, but alcoholism teachings, but we also had teachings for families and for children and for teenagers and for moms and for dads, all community-based and recovery-based programs. And then there seemed to come along in about 2016, uh, there was a need to see if we could add culture to the Al-Anon program as AA was spreading into Native communities and it was adding the culture. Then the Al-Anon, we wanted to see was it possible to add a culture to the Al-Anon. And so a group of Al-Anons in Albuquerque about 7, 8 years ago put together the first meeting and they started to add the native culture to the Al-Anon programs. And then COVID come along, and then in COVID come along, what we started to see next was this new enemy appeared. And so we had to realize that it didn't seem that it was working out really well to have the families who were having issues with family members who were into fentanyl or meth or prescription drugs. They had a difficult time going to Al-Anon because Al-Anon was created for the alcoholic families, for the families of alcoholics. And so it was come to the realization that our families who were involved in these new enemies, they had no place to go. And so the Wellbriety movement, we always try to listen to the grassroots movement, and then we don't try to boss them around. When they tell us this is what we need, something here, then we try to develop that program to respond to the request of the grassroots. And so they asked us if there was something that we could do to help where families of addictions could go that was different than Al-Anon or the AA. And this is how Wellinon was formed. So we wanted you to show that over time in our communities, we constantly are adding things to improve, to help us overcome the drugs and alcohol. And soon as we add the culture to things, that works very good for us because now we know there's thousands of us are sober, and thousands of us are well, and thousands of us are into recovery. And so this is a new movement that we want to talk about, and we named this movement the Wellinon. And this is for support groups for anyone who has family and friends who are using these new chemical enemies. A place for you to go and to get help and to be able to share the hurts that some of these things are caused. So the question is, how do we take this on, this new enemy? We know that it doesn't really work to go to AA or Al-Anon to take on these issues. So what do we do? So we have a council of elders that helps guide us. One of the things they always tell us is that return to the culture, that our culture is stronger than any drug, than any alcohol. And if we go there, that is where we'll help to find the solutions that will help us as a Native people. And so out of that, this year development that have been talking about is we now have a kit. And in this kit, it's a starter kit. And the starter kit is to help people who maybe have not even run a recovery group before, to give you as much instruction as we can that says, if you get this kit, in this kit is everything you need to help get a group going. And if there's questions, you can always call, the White Bison office, which we'll give you a number for a little bit later. So this is the new movement that we're watching, and this is for the friends and families of all addictions. And so in this kit, it's in a box. And when you open up the box, one of the things you will see in it, there's an instruction manual. And this is the way the cover of it looks. And this is labeled kit number 1. And as you open up this instruction manual, in there, what you will see is one of the things I say, this is what, if you're wondering what is Wellinon, it'll explain what it is. If you've never run a talking circle, there's 3 ways to run a talking circle, and you'll have access to the information that will tell you how to go and choose the type of talking circle that you want to run. Then we also, based on our experience over the years, is we found out there's something we call a pre-meeting checklist. So before the meeting starts, you may not be able to think of everything, but there's a list of things that says, okay, these are all the things I need to do to get things ready. And not only that, maybe you and some friends that are going to start this thing, there's some instructions on there on how do you organize a group once it gets going. Who facilitates? What are some of the job duties that people can help as they get a group going to make the group strong and to make it grow? And if you've never run a meeting before, there's a format that says, this is how you would open up a meeting. This is the order of things that you could do if you wanted to do to follow some guidelines. And then, of course, there's something we're calling it the code of ethics. When people get together to heal like this, to get together, it's like our old clan system. We had certain rules that each clan had. Well, this is a group of rules that, if followed, it will help the group to get along and to work through issues. Because when people get together, there's some issues. And then if you are facilitating a group, there's some instructions on here says this is what you could do, and this is what you might want to avoid doing when you're conducting a group. And then a little bit further on a presentation here, we're going to talk about that means what is a well-variety safe house and what is a safe camp. And we said this is just one kit. There's actually 4 kits to the complete Wellinon program that's being developed in order to help us heal the whole family. So you not only have the instruction manual, but in there, what you also see, there's a pamphlet. And this pamphlet is something, it's a 4-page pamphlet that if somebody says, hey, what is this meeting about? Well, here's a pamphlet, you can hand it out. And there'll be a number of those pamphlets and a way on how you can order more of them if you want to do that. So in that kit so far, there's an instruction manual, there's a pamphlet that will help to understand what it is. Then there's some things you can post on the wall at each meeting. We're calling them posters. So on one of these posters, there's something that's called interdependency. And what is kind of unique about the Wellinon program is many of our symbols, you'll see the arrow go from the mouth that goes into the heart area. And so what we believe is that the Creator put the knowledge inside of every human being, plant and animal, of how it's supposed to be. So inside of the salmon, there's a blueprint that when that salmon is born, it tells it everything that it's supposed to do from life to death, to swim back up the river and to lay its eggs. So we believe all the entities in nature, that the creator's inside of them, including us. So inside of every human being is the knowledge of how we are supposed to be, how we're supposed to be when we grow up. And so the Wellinon program, it isn't about looking how to fix somebody else. It's about looking inside yourself to see, how do I fix me, no matter what anyone else is doing. That's one poster. Then in another poster, it kind of tells you about, there's some things you can control, and then there's just some things you can't control. We can't control what's going on in Washington, D.C. You can't control things that other people are doing. So we were trying to put some guidelines up there that says this is what we're working on. We're working on things that you do have some control over. And then earlier we talked about uh, the Wellinon Code of Ethics. So this is something we would like when the meeting starts, that somebody reads every meeting. You read the Code of Ethics that tells us how to do it. That's going to be in the kit, and they're good sized posters. And then you'll see there's also a talking stick that we hand around. Maybe you'll use a talking stick, but maybe in your group you'll use an eagle feather or some other thing to pass around. And here we're just including a talking stick. Then you'll see something in there called safe camp buttons. And we'll explain what that is here in just a minute or so. So this is what the kit would look like as you open it up. It would have all these items inside of this kit. And then there's something in there called the Wellbriety Safe House, a poster, and they'll tell you how you can order these things if you need to implement this type of a program in your community. Then we also had, we designed some very specific Wellinon coins or chips for adults. And so there's things like if you're in a group for 30 days, people might say, is there anyone here want to celebrate 30 days of being in a Wellinon? And then you got them for, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, 9 months, a year, that you can get recognition for various coins. This is what they look like. And uh, there will be a sample in there of how those can be ordered if a group gets going and you want to start handing out these chips in the meetings. So this is group kit number 1. So throughout this year, as we know, we sometimes have a lot of issues for us to heal. It's not just about alcohol and these drugs, but we know there's things around intergenerational trauma. There's things about the descent of the boarding school. There's social issues, domestic violence, all sorts of things that go on in our communities that we need to heal for. So it's not just the group starter kit to get the group going, but if the group wants to continue growing, then we have created the guidelines. And so you can have meetings on, this is how you help structure a group that is going to run and get very, very solid to welcome new people or if difficulty shows up. Then in kit number 3, this is the one that will be we have a book, as some of you know, called A Red Road to Wellbriety. And this is a kit for those who want to study the Red Road book. We'll have a kit. It'll include a Red Road book, a study guide, and an audio tape that a group can play and listen to the book, to the tape, the words, and you can stop the tape anytime you want to discuss what is being discussed in the tape. And then also we have designed a very special 12-step approach. This is the 12 steps of AA. But what we've done is we reworded the words to fit more into native thought. And the other thing is, it's all based on the cycle of life teachings, baby, youth, adult, and elder, those things that we're supposed to know as we grow up. And as far as we know now, every tribe has a cycle of life. They have those teachings. And so it is a human thing. It's not even an Indian thing. It's red, yellow, black, and white. We all have our own cycle of life as we grow up with the things that we're supposed to do. And then in addition to that, You'll see that there's going to be a program for for the teenagers, 13 to 18 years old. And this program is being designed right now. It's going to be about half about recovery and half about living skills, how to manage money and uh, how to do goal setting. And so it's about half recovery and half living skills. And then we have another group is going to be for the kids that's under 9. Actually, it will go all the way down to first and second grade. For this reason, we think that the Wellbriety movement has to go down into first and second and third grade, way down to those levels that they start thinking, well, Wellbriety is really cool. It's something is our native people. Like, just like you see little bitty kids dancing in the powwows, they think that that's cool. They're supposed to be that way. So we want the young ones to start to think that being in wellness is it's our way. This is the way it's supposed to be. So we want to start the Wellbriety movement, working with schools and things to get this going down at a very young age. And so the first kit will be available. Kit number 2 will be available in August. The third one will be available in September. October will be when we'll be ready for the 12 step. And there'll be a training with these things, webinars, etc. And then there won't be until the beginning of 2026 that we'll have the youth programs. But we're working on those youth programs right now with people who work with our youth. They're helping us put these programs together. So this is like an overview of the Wellinon program that you'll see develop over the next year. So we have developed these coins for the young adults so they can get those. And they're based on the grandfather teachings, as you'll see, the honesty, bravery, wisdom that they can carry these in their pocket and be given out, in their meetings. And then for the real young ones, they too can get the coins, but they can also get the bracelets. So we got bracelets for all the age groups. So when one is like 3 years old and it's their birthday, you can give them a 3-year-old. They can have a bracelet. 4-year-old, 5-year-old. And we start to see that these young ones are being made a part of the Wellbriety movement at a very, very early age. And the reason for this is to raise this consciousness in our community. This is supposed to represent a level of fog. That's the blockages. And so changing the consciousness means we raise that consciousness for us to take our healing movement clear down to even to the younger kids, that they're involved in this healing also, and that we're changing the consciousness you see in our communities. So how does this program work, the Wellinon? Well, once you set up a meeting, as you know, in our culture, we refer to the red road. That there's this red road that leads us to finding the relationship with the Creator. And what we're saying is that this is the road for the hurt people living with the addict. I know I've had right now all my children and grandchildren, are alcohol and drug free. But when you have a child that is misusing these drugs, it scares you, and it makes you feel alone, makes you think you've done something wrong, and all kind of beliefs start to take place. So we're creating a place where you can come and share those hurts. And we know that there's people who are in AA or NA. We have children that have gone astray too. And what we're saying is that if you are going to be interested in this Wellinon, when you come to this Wellinon, you come here because you have a family member who's messed up. And we don't believe that the Wellinon is a place where you come to share your own addiction. You got a group for that. This program is going to be for the families and friends of family members that are in addiction. And when you come to these meetings for the friends and families of the addicts, this is your meeting. And what that means is that you're coming there to heal yourself, not to come there to talk about the addict, but it's how do I heal myself? Whether my addict uses or not uses, is it possible for me to go into healing? And so then you'll also see that in the Wellinon, um, we also have a talking circle kit that will be coming out here next that will help. And this 12-step program, that's kit number 4, where we're talking about the well variety way of life, the 12 steps, all in the process of helping us to get recovery going in our communities. And so when we take a look at this new enemy, if you were to work the 12 steps, it takes quite a amount of time to get in those 12 steps and get it going. But how is it we can take a chemical drug that can is a very, very addictive and it can kill in the first time? Is there something available to us in our culture, in our spirituality, that will allow us to stop this use of this drug almost immediately? What do we think it is? And after consulting with the elders and the various people, what we think was we found this antidote, the thing that will almost immediately stop the use of this addiction, or to help a person get into healing and feeling like they belong very quickly. And what we're saying is that the opposite of addiction is connection. Uh, this connection, it's a spiritual feeling that has a power to it. It has something that when you encounter it, you'll feel it. It changes your mind. It's like a mind changer into a positive. And where this feeling originates is something, as a lot of us are familiar with, is something called the talking circle. When we sit in a circle, it's like a web. It's like a spider web. What happens, we sit in that circle. At the spiritual level, there's a connectedness that takes place. You can't see it, but you can feel it. And in the center of that center, this is where the creator is, or the God, or your higher power, or whatever you define as your supreme being, is at the center of it. And this is the connection that we're talking about, is to find this thing, this connection. And the source of this connection comes from the talking circle. In other words, we turn to the community to look for a solution that will help us to heal very, very quickly, to start the healing very, very quickly from the meth and those types of things. And so once again, we find it's in our culture, and it comes from the talking circle. And so when we sit in this circle, spiritually, there's a connectedness starts to take place between one another, and it does a couple of things that you can recognize what this connection is, because it's literally a real connection. And what this connection does, and we even notice in this circle there's an empty chair, and we say every time you set up a Wellinon meeting, always have an empty chair, because an empty chair, when a newcomer comes in, says, "Oh my God, that's me. There, I have a place. I'll come sit in it. I'll come sit in that chair." You see, because what this connectedness does, it gives you this feeling, and what this feeling is this feeling of belonging. And this is that connectedness of what we believe, that when we come there, it will alter. It's the antidote. Is that when you have this feeling of belonging, it's very, very powerful, because many times when we are involved in this area of our family members using drugs and things, you start to feel like you're disconnected, like you're alone, like nobody understands. And what this talking circle does is it gives you this feeling of belonging. So what we're saying is that once you get this connection makes you want to come back. When we come back, this is where the healing starts to take place. So we see that in communities that are larger, we'll start to see more than one circle. We may see specialized circle. Maybe there'll be a circle just for women. Maybe it'll be one just for moms, and maybe one's for the two-spirited people. Maybe one, for teenagers. We'll start to see more. So how is it we know that this thing was growing? And so this is what we are asking the groups to do if their community in the council will allow such a thing, is in the kit, you'll see there's a poster. There's a sign that says Wilbride Safe House. And what we're asking for in the community is, say you belong to this group and in your group, your house is alcohol and drug free. We would like to see if you would be willing to put that poster in your window. And the group, Wellinon group that gets it, there's a little stamp down there for approval that you can signature that it come out of from the from the group. And so what we're saying is uh, can you imagine that maybe after the first year, as you went around the community, you'd start to see 10 houses that have a Welbride Safe House in? It starts to create a message that there's something going on in the community, that we can recognize these houses are alcohol and drug free. And suppose in the next year you see maybe 20 houses, maybe 30 houses. And it is a way to change, help see the consciousness changing, because house by house, we're starting to see these are places where alcohol and drugs is not causing the problem. And we're calling them Albrighty safe houses. So in the kit, it shows you a sample of one. And if it were in the community's interest to start this program like this with the Albrighty safe houses, then we're asking you to start these safe houses. So this is a question that we're asking kind of at the big picture. Is it possible? Is it possible in our communities with all of this going on with the meth and fentanyl and prescription drugs and all the splitting of the country and things that's going on in Washington? I'm hoping that in our community is what we're going to focus on is recovery. I hope we're going to focus on, in all the turmoil, what we are going to do is not let outside entities lead us back to any kind of drinking or taking more drugs, more alcohol because of a bunch of misinformation or lies or whatever. So the question is it possible for our communities to change from this kind of a community? Is it possible that we could change to this, where we start to see our culture come back in our songs and our drums and our ceremonies, and hear our kids singing and sitting at the drum and in their regalia dancing and understanding why they danced and showing up for the ceremonies. And I think that this is possible for this reason is there's no outsiders are coming in our communities to do this. The government doesn't have a program for us to lead our communities into healing. And so who's going to do it is a small group of thoughtful people in recovery, committed citizens that can change the world or the community. So when you start the Wellinon group, you don't need to think that everybody has to be in it. Just find a place, get that group going, show up every week, no matter what, and help the group. It'll grow if you keep the door open on that meeting once a week or twice a week, or maybe you can do it even more often, or have other organizations who even help to do it. That's how we're going to change a community. The BIA ain't coming, the government's not coming, no one's coming. If this is meant to be, it's going to be, it begins with you. It begins with me. We got to show up. This is how we're going to make this change and overcome this enemy. And so we are hoping also that the day comes that this program will start to the red, yellow, black, and white, that the Wellinon is not an Indian thing, but it will contain our teachings and our ceremonies and our way of life that the old people gave to us, and that governments tried to take away, but they didn't take away. We see we're still here, and in fact, it's coming back. there's a resurgence going on with us. So this is what we're saying is to get it going, to get a free Wellinon kit, you gotta just be one of the first 50 people to fill out a form. And the place to fill it out is written right here. And you tell us how you're going to get a Wellinon group going, and we'll send you a free kit to get going to the first 50 people that do so. And we're starting to see um, ordering of these kits are coming in, and then there will be additional further information that you'll be able to get in the kit. You'll see that there is links to various YouTube trainings. There's a Facebook page where you can get more information with things be updated, and we can talk to one another and help one another. Then there's also, as you look at the top of this, you see there actually is an 800 number that that can be called to get clarification, on any questions. And we know that we haven't thought 100% of anything, but we know that we will figure it out. We have made a commitment to help get this Wellinon program going. White Bison, we've been in the business of doing this cultural-based approaches for coming up on 38 years, and so we're very committed to see this Wellinon program launch. It'll actually be the headquarters for it is going to end up being in Arizona, either in Phoenix or Mesa, Arizona, as soon as we find a location there. And we are hoping that the day will come when the Wellinon program will go solo, that it will be able to run on its own and continue to help people around the world. So this is an overview of what we think is the program, how you can get a kit. They'll also are going to be for sale on the Wild Variety store. And so we're hoping that this will be very, very helpful in order to pass the word. It will be shown as a webinar, I believe, at a very frequent basis that you can look at the Wild Variety websites or Facebooks, and you'll see it. They'll communicate that at first it'll be put out like every week, and then at various frequencies for those of you who will want to watch it on the webinar. So we're excited, and so thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this, and we're just going to wish everyone a real happy journey on the Red Road in the Wild Variety movement, and let's just all chip in and help one another. If the country's dividing, let's not us divide. Let's us keep focused on recovery. Thank you very much.